It's the happiest day of the week, which is a fantastic development because I need some happiness in my life right now. Riley Davis is here. Riley from Heat Check has joined the Sleepers podcast on Friday, August 11th, which is presented by Juwan Howard's Anger Management and Counseling Services. Have you ever threatened to kill, punch a coworker, or suffer from badger bites? Juwan's counseling is for you. Connect with other Michigan men and find excuses for your actions that don't involve apologies. Riley, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Greg. I can't help but feel like that little slight at your coach is maybe a little reactionary from all these fans in your comments and your mentions saying that you're too hard on Michigan State. I like that you're trying to show a little bit of balance, but, take it easy on Juwan.
I appreciate that. That's from Keith Johnson, by the way, who paid us for that ad read. We now open the show with paid ad reads. If anyone Venmos us $10, you can sponsor an episode of the Sleepers podcast. Shout out to Keith. This might just be the Sleepers podcast presented by Keith because he's 2 for 2 on sponsorship deals this week. Card, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's the first day of the Prem season for any of my footy fans out there. I'm gonna try to power through this episode just a little bit though, because I was hooping in the park yesterday, and in typical fashion, going to the hole, refusing the screen, easy left hand layup loading, get absolutely hammered and smacked in the face, and busted my bottom lip. So it's kind of in pain right now, but I'm doing okay besides that.
Wow. I'm thinking of you. We'll keep Carter Elliott and his family in our thoughts and prayers after a hard foul going left. That's a terrifying thing to try and come back from. And yeah, been a hot day in the Sleepers media mentions world. Carter's clip of him choosing USC's backcourt over Michigan State's seemed to put a lot of people on a train of being upset with me. I think that's now the 7th fan base that has accused us of being biased haters in the last week and a half, Cart. Going back, we've got Kentucky, Kansas, Illinois, Indiana, Purdue, Michigan State, all in a 10-day span. So, hey, welcome to the Sleepers podcast. We don't always say things you want to hear about your teams, our own teams included, but we like to think we're a biased college basketball show and much more than that. We have 42 comments today. And of course, it's Riley Friday. Riley has 3 topics of his own that we don't know about that we will get to later in the show. So let's get right into the comments today. Brandon Skalski says, if nothing else, I will always show up just to see Cart's pain at having to continually talk about how good Purdue is going to be.
Yeah, it's insane. I had a conversation with somebody else yesterday, and we were talking about best point guards in the country. And I found myself typing up Braden Smith. I'm like, God damn, we really do talk about Purdue a lot, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, hey, we just like to
talk about. They're really good. They're top 5 in the country for a reason.
We like to talk about the best team in the country with the best player in the country. It is what it is. Ulamog came in the comments and he timestamped the entire episode yesterday. Thank you, Ulamog. He says, you're welcome. Aiden, who was asking for timestamps. I couldn't figure it out. Sorry, fellas. If Aiden wants to keep doing that or Ulamog wants to keep doing that, all credit to you, my friend. Appreciate you. Jim Kanzel-Meyer says, love the boiler discussion. They were so fun to watch last year. Sands tourney, should be another really fun year. Yes, it should, Jim. We've talked about Purdue at length. We might talk. Are we talking Purdue today, Riley? Can you reveal that? You wanted to, but
we are not. I actually didn't have time to watch those clips from the foreign tour anyway. I saw that our king Matthew loves ball. I know Card is a fellow MLB enthusiast. He posted like some extended highlights. I haven't gotten around to it yet. And I saw y'all had a nice little discussion on Braden Smith anyway yesterday. So won't be talking anymore Purdue.
Yeah, Braden Smith, best point guard in the country. Richard Blake, I go to a barber who was close to retirement, and I dread that day to have to go find another one. Do you guys know if Tom Izzo has any scrimmages planned? Another great video, guys. Thank you, Richard. Cart, what does Izzo have cooked up for the rest of the season? Are they playing anybody?
I don't think they are playing anybody. The only clips that I've seen have just been straight up like practice, like inter squad type scrimmages, not even like open to the public or anything like that. I don't know if even Michigan State fans will really even get a look at this Michigan State team actually playing some meaningful basketball until Midnight Madness, maybe. But, I'm not on the Michigan State comms email string either for some reason. So if there is a release of some scrimmage, I'm not going to find out until everybody else finds out, which is asinine, by the way.
I kind of like it that way, that they're keeping things under wraps. Keep it mysterious. I mean, this is the best coach in the country, the best team in the country, the best backcourt in the country. So let's keep it mysterious for a little bit. Also, Jackson Kohler's getting some sand work in up at Izzo's cottage right now up north, which is fun. That's a dangerous thing. And they will scrimmage somebody. They always scrimmage somebody. And it feels like we get the final score from that, but not much more.
Oh, are you talking about like the secret scrimmages?
Yeah, they'll do that at least. Like
Oh,
they'll
yeah.
get
Yeah,
Gonzaga
they
or
will.
something.
We gotta hit the group and find out where we can get the secret scrimmage schedule.
Yeah, we can try. It'd be tough if they scheduled Gonzaga for their secret scrimmage. That would be tough because Gonzaga is the best team in the country with the best backcourt.
I think last year it was Tennessee.
So, yeah, that's tough. Jack Hickey, 24, says, I think Illinois will be a lot better than last year's 31%, especially if they work on their shot selection. Goody is a 40% guy, in my opinion. I think Damask will improve his efficiency due to more of a catch and shoot role. Beyond that, TSJ, Harmon, and Guerrier are capable of shooting in the mid-30s. I don't think that mid-30s is what the team needs, though. Like Meyer was a mid-30s guy, and I keep being told they're going to be better. Mid-30s isn't better, is it, Riley?
I don't think so. I also would not. I know y'all have been high on Quincy Guerrier, but every time I hear that name, I'm like, I don't think he's what Illinois fans think he is, just based on seeing him at Syracuse and him having one really good year and then sort of just fading away at Oregon.
Quickly, G, this is how I feel about the mid-30s argument for shooters. One, volume comes into play, obviously, with being a mid-30s shooter. And it's okay to be a mid-30s shooter if you are like one of two mid-30s shooters and the other guys are shooting close to 40. That's when it like actually becomes dangerous and you're like, oh, this team can really shoot because, you know, the guy who we're like supposedly quote unquote want to like sag on compared to other guys on the team is knocking it down at a 34% clip. That's where it becomes dangerous. Now, if the whole team is shooting like 33%, then you're like, all right, some guys step up and be that sniper. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about being in that range. Volume and what other players are doing around you kind of factor into that.
Yeah, they really need Goody to just be like a 42% shooter or something.
Yeah, I don't mean to
like,
put pressure on Goody, but like 38's not enough. Like I think he has good enough a shot to be a 40 guy.
Yeah. And if he does that, which we believe he can do it, then I would buy this a little more. But all in all, I don't think you should waste too much time worrying about it because at the end of the day, Illinois is the best shooting team in the country. They're going to be fine. Jacob Anderson says, when do you guys see the Big Ten as going back to being the Big Ten and not the Little 10 or the Mid 10? Is it with the new teams joining that take the conference back to prominence, or does it take longer? Riley, I feel like you, as an unbiased Big Ten partisan here, should answer this question. When will the Big Ten be big again?
You know, I think that they've made some good coaching hires in the past few years, which is, I think, the most important trait. Like if you look at sort of the way that the ACC has been fallen from the top of the league, like in 2019, the ACC had 3 1 seeds. We're a long ways away from 2019. And you look at the hires of guys like Kenny Payne. You see Josh Pastner flaming out at Georgia Tech. You see Jeff Capel still keeping his job at Pitt. And it's all these sort of average to bad coaches kept their job for too long. And some teams didn't make great hires. Whereas you look at the Big Ten, you see a team like Penn State who loses one of the best coaches in my conference now, Micah Shrewsbury. I think I said this last week, but Notre Dame's going to be terrible, but love Shrewsbury long term. But I thought they made a great hire getting Mike Rhodes to come up. And that's, you need those teams that are going to be in the middle to the bottom of the league to not be awful, to not be like sub 150 KenPom teams, to I think give your conference a little bit of life, even when you look at leagues you look at the obsession with Q1, Q2, Q3 wins and losses this year. You can't have that many guys bringing you down to those Q3, Q4 wins. And so I think the Big Ten is moving in the right direction there. But as far as like being the Big Ten, I don't know. I can't see into the future, but I guess I like the direction that some of the programs are heading. You got a lot of teams that are on the right track.
Yeah, I think we're trending towards medium, maybe like dad bodish Big Ten. You know, I think it's getting up to that level. And just because you brought it up, I have been wanting to get this point off for a little bit, but just haven't found the opening on one of these episodes. I think that Penn State's going to make a bit more. I don't want to use the word noise because people are going to think like, oh, like Penn State's going to make a run. Penn State's not going to be as bad as people think. They got some transfers that are coming in, and also just like playing style. The Big Ten hasn't seen like a Mike Rhodes style of basketball in a long, long time, maybe even ever. I don't know. The Big Ten historians can really cook me up on that one. That'll be okay. But I think they'll catch some people off guard with their style of basketball because, obviously the Big Ten has a very distinct style of basketball. And when a team comes in and does something a little bit different, a la what Penn State did last year with Shrewsbury, basically just give me a bunch of 40% shooters who play hard as hell and figure it out. It had some teams on the ropes. It had teams like off guard a lot and helped them win a lot of basketball games. So I think that Rhodes and the pieces they have, they can kind of emulate that a little bit. They're not going to have the same level of success that Penn State had last year, but I think they will be able to emulate that a little bit.
Yeah, I think all these points are correct. I don't think I can get the Big Ten back to quote Big Ten again until they have like 4 teams in the season that I think have genuine Final Four hopes. Like that was the Final Four to me, all of the 2010s. It was like Ohio State could do it this year. Wisconsin could do it this year. Indiana could do it this year. Michigan could do it this year. Michigan State could do it this year. But even Purdue sometimes you thought could do it. Like now it's Purdue and Michigan State, and that's it. Last year it was just Purdue. So we need some of the others to step up. And honestly, the pressure's on guys like Chris Holtman, Juwan Howard, I think, to be those guys, Brad Underwood to be those guys. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter too much because the Big Ten is the best conference in the country. So I took D Rose's SAT, said, after doing your road trips, who do you see as the sleeping giant in the Big Ten? You used to say Iowa, but I think the real answer is Nebraska. The fan base and resources are there to maintain a legit hoops program. We were impressed in Lincoln, Cart. I don't hate that call out, but they got to get rid of the cake pops.
Yeah, that's literally the only thing they got to get rid of. But I was very impressed with Lincoln. Like the town, if it was, implanted with a really, really good basketball team, I think would be electric. I think they got the setup for it. The arena is beautiful. It's just the fact that it's like an NBA arena and they throw out, Riley's CYO team out there. So it's not as good as, they don't really fill the stands like they need to. No shots, Riley. I know you're a Hooper. But what I'm saying is if there was some actual serious positive buzz around that team, I think it would really be buzzing in Lincoln.
Hey, who gets it going first between Matt Rule for Nebraska football or Fred Hoiberg or your next coach of choice for
Hoiberg, because Rule's a liar.
Do you want to give some context to your Rule's a liar statement?
On our first trip for College Hoops to Go, it was the introduction of Matt Rule to like the crowd, basically. How they do the introduction of the new football coach at halftime of the basketball game. First of all, everyone was, out of their seats. There was a couple people fainting around me. It was like Jesus himself walked to the middle of the court. And he just continued to lie generationally, saying how he wants to play not 10 Saturdays. This is a team that's going to be playing into 13, 14, 15 Saturdays. And I was like, Matthew, that means you're going to be being in the college football playoff. Mm-hmm. Let's win 6 games first, my baby. Let's make the Motor City Bowl. Let's crawl before we run, like what's going on here? Generational lies.
Hey, Matt Rule has, I think, the worst drip of any coach I've ever seen too. Like in addition to getting rid of the cake pops, Nebraska needs to take away that man's like TJ Maxx frequent shoppers card because he is just going in there and finding whatever relaxed fit khakis he can and just buying them by the dozen.
I'm taking Matt Rule for the record. I think he is the one who, I think Nebraska football will be great again before Nebraska basketball is again, at least under Hoiberg. But I do agree that the resources are there. Iowa's not the sleeping giant we thought they were. They're just asleep. They've let McCaffrey get too comfortable. But I don't even have a joke positive spin to call one of these two programs the best. I don't think there's a path to me saying that. Jared Golf 16 says, if you could choose one player all time from your favorite college basketball team and place them on the current roster, who would y'all pick and why? Cart, let's have you go first here.
Does it have to come from my favorite? Like, can I pick any player like all time, or
from your favorite program, and then you put them on this year's Michigan State team? So, any Michigan State player on this year's team.
Any Michigan State player on this year's team. I'll keep this very concise to the actual question because I've spoken a lot about how that Cash senior year team was my favorite Michigan State team as of recently. And from that team, I would take Xavier Tillman. and put him on this team.
Mm.
I think that would be the best path for this, the best player for this team and how this fits. And that hurts me because like I also could pick Cash and send Watt to the bench, but I think we need a big way more.
I like that pick. Riley?
I'm gonna go with Cam Johnson. I'm picking the recency option over like the nostalgic pick, like a Danny Green, Wayne Ellington type, because I really just think this UNC team needs someone with size on the wing who can slide down to the 4 and also provide shooting. And Cam Johnson was something special that year in 2019. I think a lot of times, maybe outside of Chapel Hill circles, he doesn't get the love he deserved. So
Y'all had Cam Johnson on the team last year and you shipped him to Penn State.
okay, no, Puff is not like that. Puff is nowhere near the shooter.
Puff was throwing up on the court ready to die for the Tar Heel.
Puff was a great kid and a great energy dude, and I think can actually be problematic with his length, especially in a system that's going to prioritize creating turnovers at Penn State. But Puff is not a shooter. I've seen that man hit multiple shots off the side of the backboard. I'm sorry, Puff. Like I said, great kid, really enjoyable person to talk to interview, but yeah, he's not curling off of screens, shooting 40% from 3 like his brother is.
Puff the Magic Tar Heel. So I'm look at you guys being all wholesome, picking like role player types, not to call Xavier Tillman a role player, but like you guys could have picked like greatest players in program history, and instead you're picking like just solid starters to round out your teams because your teams are really good. Michigan stinks. They have so many holes everywhere. Like I can't just pick like Charles Matthews and pretend this team would be exciting. So I have to pick the best player I can think of, which is Trey Burke, who for the record is the best player in college basketball history and would make Michigan the best team in the country if he was on Michigan this year. So thanks, Jared Goff. Great question. Neil Stuckey says, as 2 Lions fans, a Michigan fan and a Michigan State fan, what are your predictions for Justin Fields this year in Chicago? As a Bears fan, I like the direction they are headed, but still a year or 2 away from being a serious contender in the NFC North. And then we have a question for Riley as well. We'll get to that after we answer the Bears one first. Cart, what do you think of Justin Fields this year?
I mean, I'm a big Justin Fields fan. I feel like it's becoming one of those cool things to do, like with your friends or on Twitter, to like hate on Justin Fields, which I don't really understand necessarily. I do think he actually has some weapons this year. Like DJ Moore is a really good receiver. Cole Kmet's a good tight end. Chase Claypool is Chase Claypool, I guess. They got some offensive linemen actually this year to protect Fields, and they should have a solid running game. I mean, I don't know. I see a path with the Bears. I think they have like a franchise quarterback. They got a quarterback they can build around. Now, do they do it correctly? Who really knows? But people like acting like Justin Fields stinks is just a bad take to me.
Would you trade Jared Goff for Justin Fields right now,
Yes.
1 for 1? You would?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I would too. I think Fields probably a better fantasy quarterback than real life quarterback. That's no like major shot, but I still question like his arm, to be honest. I just think he's like a super dynamic rusher. But at the end of the day, he might be the best quarterback in the NFL. Maybe an MVP season for him. Riley, if Duke and North Carolina were to leave the ACC, would they be package deal like USC, UCLA, or could they possibly split and go to different conferences? That would be horrifying.
I wouldn't be surprised if they end up splitting whenever that day happens or when the ACC ends. It just seems like with all the chatter about the Magnificent Seven and the ones who are leading the charge in the ACC to dissolve the league, UNC keeps getting mentioned in those talks, and I just haven't seen Duke be brought up. And it's funny, if you had asked me this time last year when I'm riding off the high of beating them in the Final Four, I'd be like, yes, let's leave them behind. Let's relegate them to the American or to, I don't know, to the SoCon. Let's preying on their downfall. But after this past season, my spirit's broken, and I don't feel like I can say that anymore. So I feel like, I guess I hope Duke joins us in whatever league we're in next.
Hey, Greg, can I ask something really quickly?
Yeah.
One, Riley, don't get mad at me, and I don't know, just don't get mad at me. Have you revealed the gender of your newborn to be?
No, I haven't.
You have not. Okay.
I don't know what it is. We're gonna be surprised.
Oh, you're both gonna be surprised.
Yeah. We'll
Okay,
find out
love
the day
that.
the kids go.
I just want to come out and make a statement, so this is recorded and everyone can find this out. If one day I'm blessed enough to have a son that plays basketball at a very high level, I will not be one of the parents that go on Twitter and defends my son or likes tweets defending my son or do things that, basically are just making myself known by defending my son. If anything, I'm going to slander him and be like, wow, this little fucker watch my language. This little MFer just went 1 for 20. He needs to lock in. Instead, I'm getting my tweets liked by CJ Gunn's father saying that we didn't mention him when talking about Indiana's team. Like, don't go touch grass, man. Like, what are we doing here? What are you just searching your son's name on Twitter? That's wild to me.
Listen, man, he's got a fair point. I think CJ Gunn has an argument for best breakout star in the country this year. So
sick of this. Gee,
shout
I can't
out
do
to
this.
Indiana.
Can you stop?
Stop what? What am I doing? I have no idea. People want to come hear us say great things and lie about their teams. Okay, here you go. Here, I'll lie about every single team in the country. CJ Gunn's a first-team All-American. Brandon Snyder says, look at you giving the Rev Roger Powell some love. I truly believe you are a secret Illini fan. I'm a secret everybody fan, man. Every team, best team in the country. But no, Roger Powell is fantastic. I do think he's going to be really successful wherever he ends up. So enjoyed my conversation with him greatly for that coaching carousel series. Aiden says, as a Notre Dame fan, I hope you are right and wrong about Shrews. I'm totally bought in. And he said Notre Dame was his dream job as he was a South Bend kid, coached at IU South Bend before he went to Purdue. So I hope he sticks because I think he can be special. Riley, yesterday, Cart and I were extremely not faking it, genuinely praising Shrew massively. Do you buy the Shrewsbury hype like we do?
Yes. I think he's pretty quickly going to be one of the best 4 coaches in the ACC, if the ACC exists. Like I said, the roster this year is awful. I don't know why he had such a hard time getting players to either come with him from Penn State or to find other players in the portal. But maybe there's some academics admissions issues. We're well versed in those on this podcast, so maybe that came up or something. But yeah, it could take 2-3 years, but yeah, I think Shrews is going to get it going.
So the second part of that question, where I think Aiden was coming from, is that we said that Shrews is using this as he's going to be there's a world where Shrews is there for 2 to 3 years, has some success, and then bolts. Do you see this as just a filler job? He's gonna, obviously we're high on him, he's gonna be successful, but is this just a 3 to 4 year thing and then wait for another job to open up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about his history or what he's looking for to say definitively. I would guess that if he turns Notre Dame back into a perennial second weekend team, kind of like the heyday of Mike Bray, if IU came calling, if it doesn't work out with Mike Woodson, he's probably listening to that offer just because it's IU. But I don't know. I think Mike Bray set a precedent where he probably could have gotten a better job than Notre Dame after what he accomplished, especially when you look at that run they had in the mid 2010s. But he stuck it out and kind of lost his fastball toward the end of his tenure there. But yeah, I think if I was a Notre Dame fan, that would give me some optimism that we can retain our coach. And let's be honest, with the amount of money their football team pulls in, it's not like revenue is going to be a problem. It's not like they're not going to be able to match, whatever salary another program can provide. It depends on if Shrews wants to stay at Notre Dame or if he's going to chase a bigger brand like an IU, or take your pick.
I think some of this could depend on conference realignment too, as crazy as that is. I know Cart hates when I say that word on this program, but if the ACC really is folding and some of the bigger boys are scooped up and he has the opportunity to jump to an Indiana or somewhere that is in one of the quote unquote super conferences, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. That said, right now, if all the conferences stay the same, I don't think Shrew would even leave Notre Dame for Indiana. That's where my gut is. I think when I was talking about, it's not a destination job for him, I'm talking if Kansas called or if North Carolina called, not that they ever would, but if a school like that called Shrew, I think he would leave immediately, as he should. Those are the best programs in the country, and Notre Dame, no offense, just can't match that. Although they are on the rise, and in a couple of years, they could be the best program in the country under Shrewsbury, who is the best coach in the country. Turney J, 35, says, I've never thought of this much until you mentioned Michigan not having an NIL bag, at least for basketball. What are your thoughts on Izzo's MSU NIL bag status? We have seen the awful wiener video, and I thought there was a scandal at dinner and Redacted's mom a while back, but currently, is it loaded with Ishpia Tech money or what? Cart, are you swimming in the money over there in East Lansing?
Definitely not. But I'm also not going to act like I'm that plugged into like, there's a certain group of people out there who know exactly how much NIL money certain schools have. We're not struggling like the likes of Michigan for sure, but we do have pretty solid NIL. There's a really large misconception though that a lot of that is Ishbia's money, and like it's really not. Like it's I honestly think there's a rule against it with him being the owner of an NBA team and him actually doing funding. I know he did used to do some. He used to sponsor every single Michigan State athlete actually on campus when he was working with, and God, I don't know why I slipped my name, United Shore. I believe that's his company. Used to be his company. But it's not really a lot of money or tech money from Ishbia. It's mostly just Michigan State donors, like any other program that's trying to fire up NIL. It's solid. It's definitely nothing to write home about, I would say.
Yeah, my quick stance on this, Cart has used this term a lot, and we jokingly say it, but we're not poor. I think that applies to Michigan State basketball. They're not the richest in the country. They're not crushing it. They're not struggling by any means. And you're right. It's definitely not like, oh, Ishbia is just funding it all. I actually think there is opportunity for MSU to become like rich in the NIL space with the infrastructure they have. If anything, one of the hurdles right now is that I don't think Tom Izzo is super comfortable playing that game. And that's not a criticism of him. Like he wasn't a pay the players guy when it was illegal years ago. And he still doesn't run the program like pro portal, pro NIL in a crazy way. So the guys they're getting better opportunities, but I think there is a world where like Michigan State football and basketball are through the roof elite at NIL in a few years when give Mel Tucker credit. That's one of the things he does pretty well. So to summarize, though, Michigan State has the best NIL offering in the country. Fam says, happy Friday, boys. Question for all, but especially my boy, #Bluffs Davis. Favorite 3 places you've ever traveled in the U.S.? Riley, you want to take that one first?
Oh, man. All right. I'll start with one. And I'm a big fan of Fort Collins, Colorado. I think the state of Colorado is fun in general. Great craft beer scene, a lot of great hiking with the Rocky Mountain National State Park right there. So pretty cool little college town in Fort Collins too, but there's more than just Colorado State if that's, not really the vibe you're looking for.
I'm trying to think here. I know one for sure off the top of my head. Denver, Colorado actually was one of mine. Probably my favorite trip I've ever been on with my wife. Like it's got everything. Like downtown Denver's fire, all the bars and restaurants and everything is right there. And then you drive like a little bit off of there, like you can go to like Estes Park and other like hikes and things like that and see stuff. So it's like it's the best of both worlds because I'm not necessarily pro hiking. That's not me. That's not my game. I don't like doing things where I play outside my game unless it's shooting ill-advised threes. But yeah, Denver, Colorado is probably one for me. God, I don't really travel that much to be honest. I'm a homebody for real. Greg, can you go? I think Denver, Colorado is just the one spot for me. I mean, I've been to LA, overrated, but I love the people in LA. I love my friends in LA, but the actual city of LA and California is not for me.
Yeah, I went to LA once and it scared me a little bit, other than I did touch Courtney Cox's shoulder in a movie theater. That's a story for another day, but I was a little scared there. I'm a very indoors person. That shouldn't surprise anybody, but like I want air conditioning and cable television and access to a college basketball venue in a near vicinity and maybe some alcoholic beverages. So my favorite city in America and in the world is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It has everything for me. It's a big city that's not too big. It has cheese and beer and sports. It's fantastic. What are you laughing at, Carter?
I'm laughing at Riley's reaction.
I had a work conference in Milwaukee for like a solid week last summer, and it's a 2-day town and tops, man. Like, no offense to the great people of Wisconsin, but there's like nothing there unless you're just like unless you're trying to eat cheese curds at like 10 different restaurants. Then like, yeah, maybe, but
yeah, cheese, beer, everything's dog friendly. There's a river and a lake. Marquette basketball's there. I have everything I need. Milwaukee's my favorite.
Okay, I did hoop at Marquette's rec center. Elite. Great student rec center at Marquette.
I can't believe you just slandered Milwaukee. That makes me so
Milwaukee
sad.
sucks, but Marquette was sweet.
Oh, come on. Moving on, Kevin Deaton says, I still think Purdue makes a run this year. I wouldn't say Painter's job is on the line if he doesn't, but I do think his seat would get hot if he goes out early again with this team. Maybe that 16 seed was too old for those freshman guards last year. Just kidding, Greg, but I do share your all's opinion. It won't happen this year. This team is too good for that, and I expect them to be really motivated. Carter's getting more frustrated every time I say the word Purdue.
I'm making a stance next week. I'm not speaking on anything Purdue for the whole week of the episode. I'm not joking. I will not speak on Purdue. I've already said it. They're really good. They're getting National Player of the Year back. Braden Smith is getting better. Lawyer's better. Miles Coleman's going to do something. Cameron Hyde's going to do something. We get it.
Best team in the country. Best player in the country. We're going to keep talking about it.
Everybody. Everyone wins. Everyone gets a goddamn cakewalk.
Clayton says, rank from 1 to 3. What will hurt Illinois the most this season? Free throw percentage, 3-point percentage, assist to turnover percentage. I want to go first on this one. I like this question. I keep throwing to you guys. I want to go first. I think 3-point percentage will hurt them the second most. I think assist to turnover percentage will hurt them the most. They need a point guard. They don't have one. Free throw percentage might feel like it loses you the most games because it always does when you just like miss one big free throw. At the end of the day, I'm the least worried about that. Anybody feel different on that order?
No, that'd be my order.
Yeah, same. I'm just surprised they didn't throw like off-court drama just as like a little honorable mention fifth category. We talked about this on the Heat Check podcast yesterday where I hypothesized that Illinois won't have any drama, to which Brian Ralph quickly said, like, they have Terrence Shannon, they have Coleman Hawkins, they have Brad Underwood. There's going to be drama.
if off-court drama was added as a fourth vertical here, where would it rank in the order of 3-point percentage, free throw percentage, assist to turnover percentage, drama?
I think this is a drama-free year for them.
Wow.
I do. I think it is a drama-free year. It has nothing to do with wins and losses. Don't get me wrong. Just drama-free. They're not going to have guys refusing to play and stuff like that.
You know what's interesting about the word drama, Cart?
What?
First 3 letters. But hey, Illinois is the most fun program in the country, possibly the best program in the country. Let's move on. T. Will says, I texted Carter about this. Love your guys' show. Thanks for all the hard work. Quick question. Huge Louisville Cardinals fan. Anyways, with the past couple years, I've really enjoyed watching Big East and Rick Pitino. What are St. John's expectations in year 1 with Coach P? Also, how many tournament teams could we see in the tournament? And Marquette Final Four incoming. Love the show. Thanks. Thank you.
He meant Big East teams in the tournament. He texted me to fix his comment.
Oh, okay. Didn't it say Big East?
I'm pretty sure he said Big. He said how many tournament teams can you see in the tournament? I think he said.
Oh, how many Big East teams? Got it. First off, shout out to Will. Love to see you in the comment section and texting Carter also. Love that Carter's on text basis with our chat community here. What's your answer, Carter? You've known this comment was coming, so you better have a good answer cooked up.
I did. I'm, for one, selling the Marquette hype to like the Final Four. I get that they're bringing a lot back, but Riley, obviously you're writing for the Almanac right now. Can you inform me who's the coach of Marquette currently? Because I think I know who it is, but I want to make sure, double check it.
I believe it is Shaka Smart.
Okay, yeah, well, there's not going to be a Final Four made with that gentleman. The same VCU, they ain't walking through that door anymore. Chaos isn't getting it done like it used to. They're very talented. Obviously, to get Kolek back. I'm very high on the Big East just in general. I think, Greg, you mentioned the other day as far as like that being one of your favorite conferences. I think it's up there with me with the Big 12, just because the ACC has just been embarrassing us lately. Shout out Riley. But yeah, I think that, I'm interested to see what Xavier does this season. They lost a good amount of pieces with like Boom and Kobe Jones last year. Interested to see kind of where they go. But I mean, once again, I think the Big East would be really good. I think that UConn should still be considered a Final Four worthy team with the pieces they got coming back. And then, the good freshmen like Castle they were able to add. As far as Louisville, I might have to lean on Riley on this one because he is, whether he wants to be or not, Sleeper's ACC correspondent. So talk to us on Louisville a little bit. Talk Tyler off the ledge maybe if he needs to be.
No, they're going to be bad again. They aren't going to be. They aren't going to be 4-win bad. Like they could maybe get. I could see like 15 win. Gosh, even 15 wins is such a big improvement from last year. Like they were getting bodied by App State and Wright State last year. I can't get there with much more than like 12, 13 wins, but who knows? Maybe Sky Clark rekindles that magic, the style of play that once captured a young G Wizzy's heart in the summer of 2022. But yeah, I'm not there with Louisville.
Last thing I want to say too, because he brought it up here, and I've actually brought this up to you guys on the side before. The Rick Pitino hype is getting a little bit out of control for my liking. Like, why does everybody act like St. John's this year is just going to be a bona fide like second weekend team just by adding Rick Pitino? Yeah, I know he adds some players and he has some things and resources at his utility now. But like I still saw this same Rick Pitino with an Ionia team that was very talented in a league that I think that their talent was above and beyond anybody else's, go out in the first round of the conference tournament to Ryder. Like that happened. Okay. I just think there's a lot of mystique around Pitino. And I think it's got to be a little bit more show me and not like I've seen what you've done in the past. So we're just giving the benefit of the doubt that he's going to cook.
No, I agree with that. I see like there's a world where St. John's could be third or fourth best team in the Big East. I think Creighton and UConn are clearly ahead of them. I would say Marquette is for now. I think, for them to even catch Marquette, everything has to break perfectly. But I can't. Who won the MAC this past year? I can't remember. I know it wasn't Iona.
No,
they were. It was Iona. Iona won it this year, but they lost in the first round of the tournament to UConn.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so Iona. So he won the MAC this past year. But yeah, when you look at like he's bringing in Denish Jenkins, and I think there's some other Iona player I'm forgetting that he maybe brought in. Jordan Dingle, a Penn transfer, who I think is good, but it's like you're not gonna have the talent advantage in the Big East that he did these past 3 or 4 years at Iona every year. So yeah. I echo all those concerns.
I just think Rick Pitino is in a very small group of people that have earned a reputation of that guy terrifies me in a single elimination setting. Izzo is the leader of that bunch. And it's like, you got to be a certain level of veteran coach. Like obviously there's some young up and comers who have had good tourney runs, but like this guy who's just been there with a ton of different programs and has won titles. And at the end of the day, if he's there, even if his team isn't the most talented, that's a terrifying face to see on the other end of your sideline. But I'm with you. I'm skeptical on this roster a little bit, just not skeptical on Rick Pitino, who I think is clearly the best coach in the country. Macon Jones says, my top 3 backcourts this year are 1 Duke, 2 MSU, 3 USC. Thoughts? We did the whole Michigan State USC backcourt conversation yesterday. We left out Duke in that conversation. And a lot of people on our responses, even Michigan State fans, were like, it wouldn't be USC that would be the antagonist here. It would be Duke. Riley, that's your rival. Should Duke have been in this conversation?
I'm not going to spoil my second topic. We will get there.
Okay.
I love when we find out Riley's topics before they come. It's like a fun little game.
Yeah, let's just move on then. But for the record, I think Duke has the best backcourt in the country. All Day Tampa Bay says, thoughts on Amir Abdur-Rahim and how he'll do at USF? That sounds like a question for Riley Davis.
That sounds like a question for whoever wrote the American in the Almanac, which was not me. Wait, I always mix up his name. Can we say that name one more time?
Amir Abdur-Rahim.
Thank you, Amir Abdur-Rahim. Talked to him at the NCAA tournament in Greensboro first weekend when Kennesaw State was there, and he won me over. They almost beat Xavier, and he was like signaling chin up to the Kennesaw State faithful as he was leaving the court. The Kennesaw State fans were like there in droves, by the way. He was awesome in the press conference, talked about how Kennesaw State was going to be there for years to come, and then he promptly left for USF. But hey, you get the bag, Amir. I don't blame you at all for that. That's not a criticism. I just thought it was kind of funny. But yeah.
Any thoughts?
If you want to get some real discussion and interaction on this question, just look for if you're not already, hop on Twitter, follow CBK Report. He'll probably be tweeting about this exact comment probably like 5 hours from now, and you can just engage with it there.
I don't understand why we're slandering CBUK Report, who for my money is the best college basketball Twitter account there is. So thanks for the comment, All Day Tampa Bay. Gavin Booher, great to see him back in the comments, says, let's say you boys were kicking back and having a few drinks. What are the go-to drinks, mixed drinks included? Now, this is a question I'm excited about. We talked about how our group chat a couple of weeks ago is like 90% people that don't enjoy a beverage. Maybe we shouldn't have gone there. Also, I feel like I was a little too harsh on some of those individual people who I have a ton of respect and love for. But Riley, are you one of those members of our group chat that doesn't enjoy a cold beverage, or are you on the side that you do enjoy a cold beverage?
I enjoy a cold beverage. I'm not gonna say I'm going crazy and drinking copious amounts or anything, but I enjoy a beer or two here and there. I'm a big IPA guy. That probably isn't that surprising if you look at me. I like craft beer in general, though, but I'm trying not to be snobby about it. Like if you gave me a Miller Lite, a PBR, you would have zero complaints from me.
What's your favorite of the domestic beers? I'm just curious.
Are we talking cheap beers? Probably PBR or I almost said Guinness because I think of Guinness as a macro beer. That's very much not domestic. I love Guinness though. But yeah, I'd probably go PBR, Coors.
Okay, respect.
How about y'all?
Cart,
How about y'all?
Cart, what's your go-to drink, Cart?
Well, just on the sorry, that coffee got me right there. Just on the subject of just like the go-to domestic beer, Miller Lite for me is like so underrated. There's not many better feelings than having a cold Miller Lite in the right situation. It just hits differently. I almost got a small tear coming down my face thinking about like that perfect moment where you have that cold Miller. My drinking palate has evolved over the years, though. I will say, like I used to be straight up like whiskey Diet Coke was what I got every single time, all the time. That was my favorite. Now I've kind of shifted more to a tequila phase of my life. So I love a good tequila. I think my go-to would be Terramana Reposado. And then with like Sprite Zero or lemonade is usually my go-to. But I also enjoy a really good Moscow Mule. And it's got to be in the copper mug too. I'm one of them snobby ones. I need that.
We had quite a few mules on our road trips this past winter, probably a few too many mules, but that was the go-to order a lot of times for us. Also, you're right. Miller is my favorite domestic beer or whatever you call it. It's a fine American Pilsner brewed in the wonderful Milwaukee, Wisconsin, for the record. But I'm going to rattle off a bunch because I think the best tasting sip of a drink you could have ever is a John Daly, preferably on the golf course. That is the highest peak enjoyment I've ever had.
You're not buying into the transfusion movement?
No, a John Daly on the golf course is peak pinnacle alcohol drinking. However, you're often not on the golf course when you have a drink, right? So that is a very rare situation. The more versatile drink is definitely just the simple Jack and Diet. Carter already went that direction, but that will never fail you. It hasn't failed me in my 30 years. It will not fail me for my final 60 years. And I just want to throw this out. I am a shot taker occasionally. It has to be in the right spot. It has to be for a celebration of some sort. But if you're taking a shot, the shot you should be taking is a shot of silver tequila, preferably well silver tequila. You want it to burn a little bit with no lime. Hashtag save the limes. No salt. We don't need that. Okay. It's an epidemic. Limes across the world are losing their lives for no reason. Take your tequila shot straight, let it hurt a little bit, and then hug the people you're with. Simple as that. Thanks for the question, Gavin. Keith Johnson, who sponsored today's show, said, question for Riley and Greg. Can you guys explain why the greatest alumni from your schools don't seem to show any love to Michigan and UNC? You never see Jordan or Tom Brady do as little as rock a sweatshirt with their alma mater on it. Meanwhile, I would be shocked if Magic and Draymond aren't calling recruits personally to get kids signed. Why does Jordan not show love to North Carolina, Riley?
I think it's about the bag. Like the one time I think he's been back to Chapel Hill since I've been a student, and my freshman year was in 2011 for context, was in 2017 when he showed up to share that the Jordan brand would be sponsoring our football team. You know, he showed up at halftime at a basketball game, promoted the Jordan brand football line that was coming out, and that was, I think, the last time we've seen him. I want to say he's been at some tournament games, but I'm pretty sure he hasn't been back to Chapel Hill.
Yeah, I mean, Brady doesn't come back largely because, like, when he was at Michigan, Michigan didn't want him to be their quarterback. Like the team, the fans, everybody involved. It was a very awkward situation. They wanted Drew Henson. Tom Brady went to the NFL, became the greatest quarterback in NFL history, and now there's a lot of backtracking involved. But this happens with a lot of Michigan. Like the Fab Five wasn't wanted back for years from the University of Michigan. Obviously, there was scandal involved, but I would say in general, like the University of Michigan does a pretty horrible job keeping good relationships with former star players. I don't think that's unique to Michigan necessarily, but it's a tough spot, definitely, and much different than the way Michigan State basketball runs their program. Very family-like environment there.
I will say, though, not all that blame should go on the university either, though. Like, I feel like, though it is great that Michigan State players do that, and the university does do a great job of, like, putting things together, like events to have people back on campus, a lot of it is the players themselves just absolutely, like, wanting to come back and, like, loving the university. And, like, as much as you guys do want those guys back, like, Jordan's a bad father. Do you really want him in the arena?
Okay,
Tom Brady kisses his son on the lips. Like, do you really want that dude back in the big house?
Moving on, well, Aiden, can we move on?
I just want to say that, like, UNC they make an effort to include Jordan. Like, if you go to a Carolina game, they have this whole montage of, like, I'm Tyler Hansbrough, I'm a Tar Heel. I'm Harrison Barnes, I'm a Tar Heel. And it always culminates with Jordan he just shows up there. He doesn't even say I'm Michael Jordan. He just goes, I'm a Tar Heel. And the arena goes crazy. If you're a LeBron stan like myself, most Carolina fans will, especially the old ones, will try to crucify you, tell you have no right to like the players you like, which drives me crazy because I feel like Jordan doesn't care about us anymore. But I think it's completely on Michael's end. He's getting plenty of love from UNC.
I can't believe you just did like you quoted a North Carolina montage that includes Tyler Hansbrough talking and didn't do your Hansbrough impression. Can we rewind and get the Hansbrough impression from you?
I'm Tyler Hansbrough and I'm a Tar Heel.
That's fantastic. Thank you. We get so many voice notes from Riley, for the record, doing vocal impressions of various members of college basketball media. It's awesome. He's incredibly good at this. Moving on, Aiden Tree says, when you're saying USC has the best backcourt, are we talking just Hoggard and Walker versus Collier and Boogie, or is it the whole unit with Akins and Fears, Bronny and Sellers? Yeah, we were just talking those two specifically, which is why I think it's a toss-up. If you include Akins or anybody else, it's clearly Michigan State. But, interesting convo yesterday. Some people liked it, some people didn't. But at the end of the day, Michigan State has the best backcourt in the country, and USC has the best backcourt in the country. Golden Piper, Riley, where do you think North Carolina finishes this year in the ACC? Is top 5 too hopeful?
I think outside of the top 5 would definitely be a disappointment. So no. As of right now, I have it Duke, Miami, Clemson, UNC.
Clemson? Really?
Yeah. We don't have to spend too much time on Clemson, but I like them as a dark horse. They got some players.
Okay. Interesting. Dat boy from Illinois, what led y'all to get into college sports media instead of pros? I've always preferred college hoops to NBA. Same. That's pretty much it. I just have been a college sports fanatic my whole life.
Yeah. Short answer. Same.
Riley, same.
Also same.
Same. You got to love this beautiful game. Ron 2 times says, is it bad if I'm fully convinced Michigan will have the best defensive front court in the Big Ten? I don't know. I don't think that's horrible. I'm not like locking that in, but I think Tyrese Reed and Conway are both very good defenders. Cart, what do you think?
Yeah, I do think that too. Greg, could you actually answer me a question on this? And this, I know usually when I say this type of thing, I got some type of slander coming. This is actually a true question. Because I think you might know. Did Tyrese Reed have foul trouble last year? Like,
yes.
Is he a guy who struggles with fouling?
Massively.
Okay, that puts a little bit of a wrench into my ability to like lean into them being the best front court defensively, because I do think they have the ability to, but in order to do that, like you got to stay on the floor. And it's actually weird because I was thinking to myself the other day, like there's a lot of college big men that really struggle like guarding in the post. Like for some reason, it seems like a lot of kids like leaning nowadays. Like they literally just lean on guys and they'll either call that foul immediately or you get caught off balance when someone makes a quick move. And then all of a sudden, with the foul trouble in college basketball, you got 2, you're off the floor for the rest of the first half. So if Tyrese can stay on the floor, there's a world where they could be considered like the best defensive front court in the Big Ten. But to go off your answers to that question, I don't know if he'll stay on the floor to do it.
Yeah, it would hinge on Terrace. Like Kamwa, we know what he's going to be. He's going to be a very good defender. Like you're waiting for Terrace Reed. Like, is he a defensive superstar? It's possible, or he could be a guy that can only play 20 minutes. I am hopeful. Like, this is the hopeful optimist fan in me talking. Which, yes, I get it. Michigan bias. I'm hopeful that he struggled with fouls so much because he knew he was only playing 10, 15 minutes last year. Like, that is a totally different mindset to come into a game knowing you can foul 5 times in that. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's just clueless and very reckless with his fouling. Who knows? End of the day, though, it's clear Michigan has the best defensive front court in the country. Steve Dunn, F it Friday. Somebody explain why Izzo doesn't wear a suit anymore. Whoever says they like it better is wrong. Cart, should he be held to the fire for this?
No, this is the weirdest like angle because I know there's actually people that get upset about like their coaches like not being suited up or like going with the COVID casual look. Like, just wear what you want. He could wear the elf outfit every game for all I care. Just get the dubs.
Riley, does Hubert need to pull up in a Carolina blue suit to earn your respect?
Okay, that would be fire. I would actually be about that. Especially if he's like pulls up in some Jordan 1s with the suit. Yes, I would like that.
I don't care what my coaches wear for the record. But when I played like college hoops, 2K, whatever, and I was creating a coach, I always put myself in a team color suit coat. So I guess you could say that's my preference, but it's not like I get upset when that happens. And bottom line, Tom Izzo is the best dressed, best looking coach in the entire country. Blake Brockman says, back to the point of where maybe it's the Homer IU fan of me, but feel we all saw flashes last year, especially in the early games. Feels like you're just downplaying the fact he moved far away from home. Majorly trusting his lead assistant, Chris Crutchfield, who left in May. From December 10th to the start of March, Ware only got 15 plus minutes in 3 of 20 games. Feel like it was just a doghouse situation, but I guess we shall see what Woodson can do with him. Yeah, but I think the scary part is like Oregon wasn't good. It wasn't like he wasn't playing because he couldn't beat guys out. Like, they desperately needed someone as talented as Ware to step up and be their best player. He was good at the beginning of the season. And I don't think Dana Altman's like an idiot. Like, I think Oregon's had good teams. So the fact that he didn't emerge more in the second half of the season, to me, is an indictment on Ware more than it is anything else. Is that fair in your guys' eyes?
Yeah. Short answer for me is yes. You literally just set it off for me. And just to close out the Ware like dialogue, it's okay to feel that exact way that comment just stated, because that's all facts to me. And I think we've also stated that there is a world where he does even reach like 70% of his potential and he's going to be special in the Big Ten. And that's going to be scary for the Big Ten. But the fact of the matter is you can't throw away also all the other factors that you just stated, G. Like, those are real things. We're not making those up. So yes, he could do this. He could do it. But I don't personally believe that he's going to be in the situation with the spacing, with the coaching, to do that. Or if there's a world where he's not even wired to do that. That happens all the time. There's a lot of high school kids that are super, super talented and oozing with potential, and it just never clicks for them. That happens in college basketball every single year. There's a world where it does that. All I want to say.
Yeah, for my money, Ware will be the first pick in the NBA draft next year. All those things taken into consideration, he's that good. Tristan Freeman, hey guys, part-time listener, full-time hater of the Sleepers. Thank you, Tristan. We love you too. Who has more pressure on them to at least make a Final Four next season? John Shire, Hunter Dickinson, or Matt Painter? It's a fun prompt. Riley, what do you think?
I'd go Painter. I think getting Zach Edey back for another year, combined with the sour, I was gonna call them the redacted makers in honor of Carter saying he's not gonna mention their name, and I missed my joke. But yeah, just combined with the sour end of last season, I got to go with him. Hunter, I feel like Hunter's gonna get paid regardless. He's gonna put up numbers. It's not that big of a deal what happens. Shire, he's still early on in his career, had a good enough year last year to where I don't think he's in danger of losing his job anytime soon.
Hart?
Yeah, I feel the exact same. I feel like Shire's a guy young, has like recruiting momentum going for him as well. That is not as much pressure, I guess. With the sour taste of last year for Purdue, I feel like they definitely had the most pressure. Hunter just going to get his numbers. He either is going to go play somewhere or have a WWE contract already on and signed before he even graduates or leaves. It's interesting to be a fan of a team that's going through this and not like a fan of Tristan, because like Tristan's on the boards in hell. Like, is our team going to finish above Boston College this year? Can't wait. Hail to Pitt.
That's the right answer for the record. Shire, I don't think has really much pressure at all, other than just the pressure that comes along with being the head coach at Duke. Dickinson and Painter, I think, have similar amounts of pressure on them. The difference is that I think Painter cares about his pressure and Hunter doesn't. Like, Hunter can pretend his legacy matters at this point in his career. And I've said his legacy does matter to him, but like individually, like how good he is this season, I think is what matters more than like, does Kansas make a Final Four for Hunter Dickinson? Painter knows like he's never going to win the fan base truly over unless they win a national title or at least make a Final Four. It'd be a good step. Spartan AG says, I wouldn't trust any company with the word fluids in the company name. Fair point. Probably should have realized that years ago. Todd KY32 has a couple comments to end our comments today. He says, I think you guys are being a little dismissive of Matt Painter's job on the line. He has been the coach now for 19 years. If they underachieve and lose in the NCAA the first weekend or worse yet fail to make the tournament, it's hard to imagine that fan base wouldn't want to change. Shrek is the returning player of the year, so they should have a great year on paper. There just isn't a world where Purdue misses the tournament, right?
Never say never.
That's not a possible outcome here, is it? Right? Like, Cardi, sitting this one out. He's sitting this one out. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're being dismissive. I don't know. We don't need to talk about it more. And final comment from Todd KY32 says, Greg, that hairline is going back. Time to get the razor and come home, brother. A fair point, fair criticism. I would say this. I have a super large forehead and have since I was like 7 years old anyway. So I think my hairline has started very far back since I was a toddler. But it is definitely moving a little bit, maybe a lot of bit. Not great, but end of the day, I have the best barber in the country. Shout out to Sport Clips. So I think I'll be all right. Let's move on. Great job today, comment section. The best comment section in the country. I can't do this anymore. I'm losing my mind, you guys. I'm trying. It hurts. I don't want to be this. I don't like being this. I think people shouldn't like listening to this. I'm losing everything. I'm losing my sense of self. I feel like I'm disassociating from the universe right now. Thank God it's Riley Friday, so Riley controls the rest of the show, and I don't have to. Riley, 3 topics. Where are we going with our first?
Yes, sir. I got you, Greg. Don't worry. I'll get us home. Just hold on. We're going home. Shout out to Aubrey, circa 2013. Staying on the subject of teams that missed the tournament, teams last year that I thought there was no chance would miss the tournament, I want to talk about my team for a second. I want to talk about the UNC Tar Heels because 2 days ago, they announced their full non-conference schedule. It garnered itself a headline in the Field of 68 Daily, one that I didn't write. It wasn't even me wanting to write about it. I just sent you the full non-conference schedule, and it's a bit of a gauntlet. And I want to talk about this because I know on here and on other podcasts, other mediums, I've said that like I want to see UNC kind of prove it this year. The way last year unfolded, I want to see that these guys can kind of rebound from that and show that they can sort of unite as a team, hit all the cliches, but also perform well on the court. In addition to some of my skepticism, or maybe not skepticism as much as like tempered expectations, I'm starting to see more national media folk gas up my Tar Heels. I know, Greg, you gave them an A or an A+ in the offseason grades. Terrence Oglesby tweeted out a long synopsis of what UNC did this offseason and why he's a big fan of it. And I was texting T.O. about it on the side, and T.O. makes no mistakes about it. He does not like UNC, does not like to cheer for the Tar Heels. So I had some good conversation with him, but it's been interesting to see the national conversation unfold on UNC. But I'm starting to get a little more excited. I'm looking at this schedule and I'm kind of seeing some opportunities for big wins. I'm seeing a reversal of the trend that has happened really the last 4 or 5 years where UNC hasn't been able to get those marquee wins in the non-conference. So as you look at their schedule, is there any wins or any games that jump out to you? Like, oh, I could see Carolina maybe making some noise here, or maybe getting a statement win that sort of tells the country like we're back.
I have a couple.
Okay.
If I can go first, Cart.
Go ahead.
So I mean, as far as statement wins go, first 4 games of their schedule, huge opportunity here. St. Augustine's at home, Radford at home, Lehigh at home, and UC Riverside at home. A massive resume opportunities there. You just came in here to a fan, like he's a Michigan State fan. You know that, right? Like Tom Izzo runs this program. They play like every good team in the country every single year. And you came in here and tried to pass off a schedule that starts with those 4 games.
Well, okay, but look at the rest of it, Greg. Read the rest of it.
I'm just, come on, fellas. The rest of it.
Reading comprehension on 0 right now for Greg. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Rotting your brain.
We're gonna go.
It's the hardest conference in the country. I'll do your work for you, Greg. Hardest schedule, whatever I said.
Jokes aside, just those 4 first, like, it's funny that's the first 4 games of the schedule.
Okay, Radford's going to be kind of good. I wrote the Big South for the Almanac. They're like a top 3 team in their league. They have some dudes. Okay. They have some really good guards. Like,
I don't mean any disrespect. I like looking at this. There's no true road game, right? Like they're in the battle for Atlantis, which is great. There's a lot of great tournaments this year. Although we've talked about the battle for Atlantis is wide open, so maybe of the great tournaments, I don't think that's the greatest of the tournaments, but I think this is a genuine statement now. I think North Carolina has a great opportunity with the schedule because they get Tennessee at home in the ACC SEC Challenge. I like North Carolina's roster on paper better than Tennessee's. I would like to chalk that up as a game they should win. I think the 2 big ones are obviously UConn and Kentucky. I'm very high on both of those teams. I think those teams are right with Michigan State for like 4th, 5th, 6th best team in the country right now. Neutral site, like that's a superstar. You circle it win if you get that win. I don't know that I would make North Carolina the favorite. Like they're probably catching points in both those games, but you never know. That's my stance. It is a good schedule. Jokes aside, it's a good schedule.
Here's my stance on it, and you call this knee jerk or not. The battle for Atlantis and the Tennessee games are going to be extremely important for you for this reason. If you lose the UConn and Kentucky, I'm chalking that up to those teams are just better than you at the time. But if you come in there with a crappy battle for Atlantis performance, a crappy game against Tennessee, and then you're like 0-2 heading technically would you get 2 games in the battle for Atlantis no matter what? Like playing in the consolation?
You get 3 games. Yeah,
you
3
get
games
3.
no matter what.
Let's say that goes horribly wrong and you come out of there like, let's say 1-2. So then you come into the UConn and Kentucky game, you're 1-3 because you lose to Tennessee. Then it's really nasty work and you got a lot of pressure on those 2 games. So I think there has to be some, in the moment, don't look ahead-ness to it. Because if you have a crappy performance in the battle for Atlantis and have a stinker at home against Tennessee, that those thoughts are going to start to creep in. And last year's, thoughts are going to start to come to the forefront.
Looking at that quad too.
Sorry,
last thing. Sorry, Riley. Looking at that quad too, it's interesting. Like we've talked about how last year Michigan State got worn down by a tough streak of games and travel. Like looking at this, like they go battle for Atlantis to Tennessee to UConn to Kentucky in back-to-back contests. The difference is there's some time in between, which I think will benefit them. Like they get 5 days between the battle for Atlantis and Tennessee at home. They get a full 11 days between UConn at Madison Square Garden and then Kentucky and Atlanta. So I think there's an opportunity for them to get through that gauntlet without getting worn down, which is something we haven't seen from other tough schedules the past couple of years.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was going to add what Carter said. Like, I think the battle for Atlantis, I'm looking to at least go 2-1. Even if I kind of feel like UNC probably falls in the title game to Arkansas. That would be my prediction right now. But as long as it's like a gritty, hard fought loss, you're kind of leaving that like, okay, we at least got one of those games. We'd be either Texas Tech or Villanova. That's who we would get in the second round. Headed into a good game, good opportunity against Tennessee at home. I think that should be a win. I wouldn't be surprised if that'd be like a double-digit win, because usually the Dean Dome gets pretty rocking for those early, the November or December games and the non-con, like the whole student body comes out. You see some of the best atmospheres in the stadium that night. I think they're going to be gassed up, ready to get it done. But I do kind of think UConn and Kentucky could be a letdown spot. If you're going into those games 6-1, being like, all right, we just got 2 quality wins at Villanova or Tennessee, whoever it might be. We're back. You go up to MSG, which I think there'll be plenty of Carolina fans. And in speaking to the travel point, like flying to New York City from RDU is like a 30-minute flight, really easy travel. But UConn's going to have plenty of representation in MSG as well. I'll be really curious to see like what the breakdown is. But yeah, that's where I think that's a tough matchup for UNC, specifically how much size they have with Stephon Castle, with Cam Spencer, with Tristan Newton. looking at the small backcourt of Elliot Cadeau and RJ Davis. And then Kentucky, I feel like the same thing with the perimeter unit might just be able to overwhelm Carolina, that you have two kind of let down games after a hot start. Should win those last 3, no problem. But, if that's how it plays out, I would say as a UNC fan, I'll be feeling pretty good going into the ACC slate. And if we can beat either Kentucky or UConn, I'll be over the moon.
So 12 games here. What's the record at the end of this 12-game stretch?
It's technically 11 because that first one's an exhibition.
Okay,
so
11 not counting St. Augustine.
You just threw away a chance to get a free dub in there, but go ahead. It's a perfection exhibition.
I'd say 8-3. 8-3 is going to be my prediction.
Okay, so is that UConn, Kentucky losses with a 2-1 battle for Atlantis?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
Cart, what do you think?
I think I got the same.
I think they get one of UConn or Kentucky. That'll be my tweak. So I'll say 9-2, and I think they win one of those two. I don't know which one, but I'll give them a shot. I like this North Carolina team, as evidenced by my offseason grade. Like I really do think this is going to make a lot more sense. And if RJ Davis gets off to a good start early, I think this team will have a totally different look and feel to it, and I expect him to. So it is more likely, though, Riley, if we're being completely honest, based on how the last couple of years have gone, it's much more likely your team's playing my team in the third place game after losing the second round game of the Battle for Atlantis with a big scare for both of us to go 1-2. So we'll see.
Great point. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that happens. For topic number 2, we're going to stay on Tobacco Road as I teased it, and we're going to hit on the Duke Blue Devils. And this stems from, I got a text message. Yeah, it stems from a text that Greg sent me yesterday afternoon that said, for the record, I'm not buying Tyrese Proctor hype. Came out of nowhere. Didn't really know what caused it. Pulled up the @DukeMBB social media page or Twitter page. And I see that they uploaded a 4-minute clip of some practice footage. And it basically was a Tyrese Proctor showcase. He kind of had the whole repertoire of moves on display, from pick and roll passing, catching lobs, throwing lobs, hitting threes. So I wanted to open up a dialogue about Tyrese Proctor in particular, because I saw this video and it looked like they're getting ready to kind of gas him up as their National Player of the Year front runner. And maybe that's part of Filipowski's injuries could be tied into that. But Cart, I wanted to turn to you first. Where are you on Tyrese Proctor and his standing in the landscape of college guards? Could you see him being an All-American? What does he need to do to get to that level?
I think it's a little bit overhyped or overpushed in my eyes. Like, I think a lot of people, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I think in most circles, like, people are penciling Tyrese Proctor as a first-team All-American. I feel like that's the national narrative right now. And part of it might not even be Tyrese Proctor's fault. Like, they still have Jeremy Roach on this team, who, will never ever leave Duke, apparently. Like, they still have him on the team. And I guess because I haven't got off my hot take yet, and we were almost like a good amount of time in on this episode, like, I still think Jared McCain might be the best guard on this team, even over Proctor. So I don't know. It's just, Proctor's good, don't get me wrong, but like, everyone's just like, oh, first team All-American, he's that guy. He's going to be like one of the best players in the country. There's a world where he isn't, okay? Like, Tyrese Proctor did struggle last year. He wasn't just unbelievable. He did pick it up towards the end, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of projecting going on with him, which is fair, but at the same time, I don't know if it's like a bona fide, oh yeah, he's first team All-American.
Greg, you want to get your take off?
Yeah, I've made it this far into the show. I mean, just gassing up every player, team, coach in the country. So do I have the blessing of both of you guys? Can I be honest now and stop lying and positivity about everybody?
Please
yes.
Do.
Yes. Okay. Good. So here's where I'm at on Tyrese. Here's where I sent you that text the other day. So I got a sneak peek at the Almanac content because I create content for the Field 68 social media channels, and in efforts to help promote this beast, I asked Rob Doster if I could get the behind the scenes stuff that you guys are preparing, a lot of the lists you guys do, like All-American teams, everything like that. So he sent me access to a Google Drive, and I just combed through it looking at things, trying to pull out something that would be worth to make a video on. I ended up doing All-American teams, and I didn't even mention this in the video, but Tyrese Proctor is on one of the teams. I won't reveal which one. And he's the only player of the 15 players listed that has a note next to him that says, are we moving him up? Like, should he be on a team that he's not on? Like, he's circled, like, are we too low on this one? He's on an all-American team already to start this preseason. I get the narrative, and the truth is that Tyrese Proctor got a lot better as the season went on. He finished the season great. He also finished the season with 2 of his final 3 games, culminating in a 7-point game and a 5-point game, going 4 for 17 from the floor and 2 for 11 from 3. His season ended on a clunky note, not a breakout note. He had 0 games last season as a freshman with 18 points. He did not score 18 points once last season. I've never seen first-team All-American hype before for a guy who is on a team with another All-American and another veteran point guard who on paper isn't stepping into like a larger role than he was last year, who shot 38% from the floor, 32% from 3 in 29 minutes a game and averaged 9 and 3 last year. Like, I just don't, I would maybe buy this if Roach was gone and it's like, it's the Proctor show now, but I don't feel we like didn't get a look at who Proctor is last year. He played 30 minutes last year and he didn't crack 40% from the floor, shoot well from 3, average 10 points. Like, he didn't do anything like that. So I get like the tape looks good. I think there's obviously a jump. Players all the time make jumps from freshman to sophomore year, but I'm having a really hard time understanding why he is on paper ahead of guys like Tyson Walker or Tyler Kolek on All-American lists. Like, those guys are proven elite guards in this sport. Tyrese Proctor needs to take a massive jump just to get there. And I don't get it, to be honest. I just don't see, like, I don't see Proctor being the reason Duke is going to be great this year. I think that's on Filipowski more than anybody.
Yeah, G, I definitely see your points with that. The numbers, when you look at them on the surface, the statistics, you kind of have to take a big jump to get to this Tyrese Proctor first-team All-American buzz that's been generating really since he declared that he was coming back to Duke. I think a lot of people are enamored by the highlights because his flashes, like if you look at Tyrese Proctor's greatest hits from his freshman years, they're special. Like his live dribble passing, the playmaking he's able to do out of ball screens, the highest highs are absolutely special, and he looks like a lottery pick. And I think his 2 for 11 from 3 game, notwithstanding, or if it was a couple of games, I know his shooting from long range, it came along a little bit towards the end of the year. Probably the second half of the year, I want to say he was closer to probably 36% from 3. But yeah, the numbers are hard to get by. For me, I'm somewhere in between. Like, I think I voted him a top 10 player in the sport because I think the sophomore year breakout is coming. I want to say I had him on an All-American team for the Almanac as well. I can't exactly remember. I'd have to go back and look at some of my texts. But what I can say about Tyrese Proctor is that I've watched a lot of freshman guards for Duke over the years. The gold standard for me is Tyus Jones. He's someone who I despise because he won a title at Duke my senior year. I had to watch him in Chapel Hill rip my team's heart out. And we had a game 1 in Cameron against this team too. 5-point lead with like 30 seconds left, and somehow Duke won in overtime. So yes, Tyus Jones is like the gold standard for like freshman guards at Duke who just terrified me. There were some guys who I thought would get there, whether it was, I was really high on DJ Stewart going into that Duke team. Trevon Duval I thought was going to be pretty special. And these guys didn't always pan out. Those two in particular didn't really do much. But I will say that watching Proctor down the stretch of last season, when he was controlling games, when he was hitting big shots, he was getting to whatever spot he wanted to on the floor, it just felt like he was in control. And that was the first time in a while I'd be like, okay, this dude is scary. I am afraid as a Duke hater to be cheering against this guy, So that's what I can't get out of my head. And thinking that what I saw from him over like the final 10 games of the year where he had that presence, I think there's a decent chance we see that for a full season.
Car, what's going on here? Are you preparing some notes?
Yeah, no, don't mind me. Please go ahead.
I'm intrigued by what's happening there. I don't know, man. Like, I think he's a good player. Like, all this said, all my criticisms aside, like, my criticisms are coming just because I don't think he's one of the 10 best players in the sport. Like, that's my distinction. I still think he's a really good starter and going to be on a really good team. But to tie Cart's team into this a little bit too, like, everybody knows I love Jaden Akins. I think he's awesome. I think he's arguably the most talented player on a really talented Michigan State team. And there is no world this year that Jaden Akins is an All-American because that team has too many guys. And that's sort of how I feel about Duke, especially in the backcourt. Like, you're taking the same backcourt from last year that led to Proctor scoring 9 points a game and adding Jared McCain to it. And he's supposed to jump it, like, in order to be a first team All-American, he's got to average like 15 a game, right? Like, or Duke's got to be incredible and he's got to be like a 14-6 guy. I just don't know where that leap comes opportunity wise. And Cart, has whatever you've prepared been prepared?
Oh yeah. Just want to make sure I get this banner hung for Tyrese Proctor being in control last season. What a special player. Riley, come on.
Thank you for that.
In control? In control.
Where would that rank if a coach's best compliment for you was, hey, Cart, you play in control? Where would that rank in alongside your efficient as your least favorite things to hear?
I'd rather you just redshirt me. In control? That is, well, come on, bro. You know what? That's a Cook product statement. We're hyping up all Americans because they're in control.
I just like, isn't Jeremy Roach possibly better than him though? Like, even if you don't like Jeremy Roach,
definitely
like,
a possibility.
Like, looking at his conference stats, like, Jeremy Roach was pretty much better across the board. He was better from the floor, scored more points a game. Like,
is he in control?
Okay.
I think it's the defensive ceiling for Proctor too that have Duke fans especially excited just because he's 6'5". I think he's probably a little overrated on that end. It helped that he had Derek Lively kind of cleaning up every mistake, and Filipowski was really good defensively last year too for Duke. That's actually something where I will give them a ton of praise. Like, Filipowski was actually awesome on defense last year.
Duke is loaded, man. Like, just the more we're talking through these names, like that freshman class, I can't believe they brought everybody back, honestly. Like, to get Mitchell, Filipowski, Roach, Proctor back and have the class they have coming in is crazy. So, yeah,
speaking of Mitchell and Filipowski, that'll lead us into our final segment. We'll move it on. And I want to talk a little bit about the best front courts in the country since y'all hit on backcourts yesterday. Floor is y'all's. Whoever wants to chime in first.
Ooh, best guy. You know, there's so much backcourt talk like across the country that you really don't even lock in on front courts like that.
Right. There's a lot.
So can I do a little bit projecting or predicting?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So I'm going to fast forward to the end of the season, right? And who's going to be on the floor in like tournament time. And I'm going to pick my best front court. Damn, no, I just had a second thought. All right, no, I'm going to stick with it. Best front court is Hunter Dickinson and Johnny Furphy.
Furphy? What? I don't even mean to disrespect Johnny Furphy. What? KJ Adams?
Mm-mm. If it's KJ Adams and Dickinson, I'm out. If it's Furphy and Dickinson, I'm in.
Wow. Adams has been awesome, though. Like, that's might be the loudest takeaway from Kansas's early start to this summer. Is like, Adams looks incredible. He's hitting threes. He's flying over everybody for dunks. Johnny Furphy.
You could pick Dickinson and Adams if you like.
I don't want to pick anything with Hunter Dickinson in it. I've gone through the best front court blah 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 Hunter Dickinson every summer for 2 years. It hasn't come to fruition. This is a tough question.
I mean, because like when you think about it, like you're thinking about all the dominant centers across college basketball and like who their, I guess, quote unquote running mate is. Like,
yep.
Who is it for Klingon?
I was gonna say
that's actually my answer. My answer is Klingon and Caravan.
Caravan's the 4.
Okay, I might lean that then. I didn't. Yeah. Okay.
What did Caravan shoot from 3 last year? Like, is he a spacer like that?
I think he was at like what 36, 37%.
I think he was up there.
Early season, that man didn't miss. He shot
40% from 3. Yeah, he shot.
Jeez, 40%. It was that high.
40% from 3 on 40 or 4 attempts per game. Yeah, that's good.
I might have to change my answer to UConn.
I like UConn better than Kansas of your 2 answers. UConn's in consideration for mine. Surprise, surprise, Purdue is in consideration for mine. But I actually do think Kaufman-Renn is like a dude now. It's not just Edey and a mess at the 4 this year. So, but that's clunkier than UConn's, right? Like Caravan's a better fit next to Klingon than TKR is to Edey, even with growth.
Who's North Carolina's for?
It'd probably be Harrison Ingram.
I like that front court.
I like it too. I think there's some potential there. I want to see, I think Ingram, he's not the most explosive dude, which I think can hinder a little bit just because, like, I think Armando's a really good one-on-one defender and a good, like primary shot blocker, but he's not really going to be swatting shots from the weak side. And if Ingram could add that to his game, I would be all in. But yeah, I'm not sure if he has the explosiveness to get there.
I feel like we're missing some teams still. I'm trying to think who else. We haven't gone like West Coast, like Balo and somebody for Arizona.
Keshad Johnson. That was going to be my underrated one. Keshad Johnson and Umar Balo, I think, will be really good.
I keep forgetting Arizona has. Yeah, I keep forgetting they added Johnson. Like every time
I claim Arizona, are we missing a Big 12 backcourt? Our front court. What about Texas? Like Dessou and who's
Hayden Shedrick?
Did you really just start what about Dessou in a conversation of best front courts in the country?
Dessou was really good last season.
Dessou was really good.
Dessou's gonna be really good this year.
Like really good enough to talk about best front court in the country. Dylan Dessou?
He is. Yes,
guys,
actually.
Guys.
Honestly, I'm changing my answer to Dessou and Shedrick.
It's Dylan Dessou.
Dylan Dessou was really good last year.
Yeah, you can be good without being like, oh, he might be the best front court in the country. Like
this honestly might be Dessou's first fully healthy season. He was doing that last year on a quarter of an ACL.
He averaged 8 and 4. This is Dylan Dessou is the face of the best.
He started going down towards the end of the season when he had to, when other bigs were out.
Was he in control, Cart? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
What about Kansas State with Arthur Kaluma and Naquan Tomlin? There's like some potential there. You got to take some leaps, but
I love Naquan Tomlin, so don't get me going. Don't get me going on that. I would pick him for best front court just for him alone.
We are so far down the rabbit hole right now of like, what about guys? Like, should we go like Kalkbrenner and Isaac
Mason
Trout?
Miller?
Like.
Okay, I got a good one for y'all. Norchad Omier and Matthew Cleveland at Miami.
Okay. Anyways, let's all make sure.
Come on. Greg loves Matthew Cleveland. Greg thought that man was going to be in maize and blue.
I do like Matthew Cleveland. I like Harrison Ingram better though, so I'd go North Carolina before I would go Miami. I mean, if we're getting just like totally crazy here, like, can we throw Indiana in this? Like, can we scrunch down to the 3 and include Mbako and say Indiana has 3 guys better than any other team's 3 guys? Maybe UCLA with all the foreign dudes. Like,
I want to get everybody on record though, staking their claim to the best front court. And I know I went back and forth. I'm sticking strong. Give me Dickinson and Furphy.
I still can't. Like, it's a good answer until you say Furphy, man. And I like Furphy, but like, he's not gonna even like play the 4 for Kansas, is he?
I think he will. Strip on the Barbie, Matthew Meyer, man. Let's go.
Let's get it.
All right, I respect that answer. Then, Riley, what's your answer?
I'm still rocking with Klingon and Carabin, but that might be too. It's not fun or original, but I think it's the clear winner right now.
You know what? I think I'm gonna go with Madi Sissoko and Malik Hall. I think those guys, I mean, you've seen what Izzo does with 5th-year guys, and the breakouts always come. It just always does. So, but every front court we just mentioned is the best front court in the country, fellas. Come on, what are we really doing here?
All right, let's move on to one big thing before G's comments blow up again.
I'm so sorry. Can I name my actual front court quickly though?
Sure.
Yes.
It's Purdue. It's the best. It's the best player in the country, and I like TKR. Okay. Moving on. One big thing presented by Big B. Big B, which has the best coffee in the country. Big B. Riley, you want to go first today?
Yeah, my one big thing actually has a slightly more serious feel to it, and I'm going to make the case for Tez Walker, the UNC wide receiver, whose appeal for a second-time waiver got denied. The man is allegedly under the rules of a two-time transfer. And so the NCAA as of right now ruled him ineligible, but he didn't even play at his first school. His story is he started out at NC Central. Their season got I'm slipping over my words trying to make my impassioned rant, but their season got canceled in 2020, 2021 because of COVID. So he didn't even play for NC Central, fine institution down the road from me in Durham. He transferred from there to Kent State, where he had a good career, then decided he wanted to come home, play for the flagship university of his state. He's from Charlotte. And he also wanted to be closer to home to his grandmother, who has been having some health issues. He's called her his rock. They're exceptionally close. And he's also projected to be UNC's number one wide receiver. So selfishly, I'm very excited to see him. But the fact that the NCAA denied this appeal is crazy to me, considering he's only played at one school. And it's also the getting closer to home, getting closer to family members. We actually have our governor, Roy Cooper. He made an open letter to the NCAA advocating on behalf of Tez Walker. This is also going back to my private school thing. This might be the most private school thing I said. Me and Roy Cooper were in the same fraternity at UNC. Different times, obviously, different decades. But shout out to Governor Cooper for going to bat for Tez. And NCAA, I'm begging y'all, just do the right thing. Make Tez eligible, man. Free Tez. His grandmother is planning to see him play in college for the first time in Charlotte in a couple weeks when UNC opens the season against South Carolina. Like, you got to let Tez's granny see him play.
I like that message. I wish the NCAA just use common sense, man, for real. Just just look at something and just have some decency. Like, obviously, with the facts laid out, I get it, what it says. I get what the document says or whatever. But, like, come on, like, just actually use some common sense for once. It might work out in your favor.
Free Tez is a great hashtag also. Yeah, I'm in. Thanks, Riley. Free Tez. Cart, what do you got today?
My one big thing today is on a food note. Filling into why I'm the heftier of the members of this podcast. On Sundays, because I do try to eat fairly healthy throughout the week, or at least try my best to. So I don't eat candy much, but on Sundays I always like to indulge in a little bit of candy because I am a candy person. And I have a new favorite candy, and I see a lot of people eating it. But this might be the best candy that I've ever had, okay? It's the Nerds Gummy Clusters. Top tier candy. It is so damn good. When I first saw it, I'm like, Nerds. If I saw someone eat Nerds, I would clutch my man bag a little tighter. That's a sign that something bad's going to happen. That person has ill intentions. But the Nerd Gummy Clusters, absolute elite candy. They got 2 different bags, 2 different flavors, both elite. You cannot go wrong. If you have not tried the Nerds Gummy Clusters, go to your local gas station or convenience store or anywhere, grab them, try them, and let me know what you think. But I promise you will not be disappointed.
Wow. I don't know why I laughed so hard when you said I see a lot of people eating them. Are you just really in a candy circle that I don't know about?
No, I feel like I might be late. That's the only reason I said it.
I've had them. They're good. I can confirm those Nerds clusters are good.
Yeah.
I haven't had them. Should I go? Do I need to get them today?
Yes.
Is it's that critical? Okay.
Yes.
I'll make a coffee at Big B. Get you some Nerds clusters.
Yeah, I'll make a trip. That works. All right. I'll end the show this week on I guess a spiteful note. I don't know. Everybody caught on to what I did today, clearly, right? I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed by everyone. My mentions have been burned on fire. Every fan base that we've talked about, even positively, has come after us in the last month. It just is what it is. Indiana's fan-specific show has been on our ass since yesterday, saying that we compared Gabe Cupps to Jordan Hulls, and Xavier Johnson said I accused him of an injury that didn't even happen. I'm not wishing injury on Xavier Johnson, even if he tells Indiana fans I am. Michigan State fans are telling me I can't say nice things about them because now I'm just a spiteful idiot, and I'm not even saying them genuinely. That's crazy to me. So here's where I'm at with all of this, okay? If you want to listen to shows that just say 100% nice things about your favorite team, there are plenty of great shows out there that do that. That's not even spiteful from me. I promise. I mean that genuinely. I listen to a lot of them. I do. I listen to those. There's room for those shows and what we do here on the Sleepers podcast. And it seems, looking back, Cart, tell me if I'm wrong, over the last month, some of those shows have kind of come at us. Some of those shows are like viewing us as like this competition or these people that don't deserve to be talking about their team because we don't do it from a fan's perspective. I don't get that at all. Like we have always said, it's more fun to disagree than to agree. And we try to structure our show around topics where there's in-depth conversations and people have different opinions. We bring people on the show that have different fandoms and interests and all of that. That's so much more interesting to me than just consuming something where you know every time you're just going to get the positive spin about one thing. And I like there's room for that. Like I said, all those things do a great job doing it. But don't come at our show and act like we can't talk ball or we don't know ball or we're doing things wrong just because we aren't propelling every little conversation in a positive way about your team. When teams do a good thing, we talk about that. When players are awesome, we talk about that. We love talking about that. But man, it's lazy. It's one of the easiest things you can do to like make your identity centered around only positivity. And I hate people that aren't fans of my school. Like, it's just lazy. There's no risk involved. There's no originality. So if that's for you, great. Go enjoy that. But don't come at us and tell us we can't do this because we're doing something right. Our show's in a good spot. And I'm sick of having fights with random fan bases every single day just because we don't think Indiana's a top 3 team in the Big Ten, man. Insane.
I mean, absolutely great message. And to end that and to quote my late, great Grandma Elliott, you should not be loud if you can't fight.
It's a great note to end this week's show on. Riley Davis, thanks for coming on the show. Riley, do you have anything you want to plug, by the way? I don't feel like we ever give you the opportunity to do that. Anything going on in Riley
Do you
Davis?
know about any books that are coming out with vast college basketball knowledge? I've been
Nah, man, I don't know anything about
PDF and read through something. Do you know of anything?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about 362 teams, every coach on record, any insight like that. No tweets, no nothing has been sent out about that. Buy the almanac. It's going to be great. We put a lot of work into it. I think it's better than last year. I want to give a shout out to our boy, Jeff Goodman. He has helped us a lot in this space. And that man has been in his bag writing ACC previews. Like there's some good, like Goodman humor thrown in. I think people are going to enjoy some of his writing this year. So our whole team has had fun doing it. It's been an experience. It's a ton of work, but yeah, it's a labor of love for sure. So please buy the almanac.
First time Goodman picking up a pen since he wrote articles by candlelight with a feather and ink.
Hashtag not a PDF also, Carter, this year.
Yeah, it isn't a PDF
not
this
a
year.
PDF.
Something different, but yeah.
Buy the almanac. Listen to the Sleepers podcast. Subscribe for us while you're there. Shout out to the comment section. Another fantastic week. We'll be back next week if I still decide to do this and I don't decide to burn everything in my life down because I'm sick of people yelling at me. Have a great weekend, everybody. This is the best podcast on the planet. Enjoy your weekend.